calf muscles are, she straightens her legs naturally by locking the knees and by moving too far back in the lower leg. Okay, so we want to learn to move the shin bone forward, to move the front of the shin bone even a little more forward for you, and then to lift the knees and the thighs up without this. Yeah. So she has to resist here. She has to learn to resist here, but more thinking of aligning the bones. The shin bone has to come forward so that the lower and the top of the leg line out. So we get rid of that, push it back, that indentation. Okay, and doing it against the wall teaches you. So if it's very difficult for you, it's a good possibility that you're just pushing back with your lower leg and knees and not lifting properly up with the legs. Okay?
So we instruct bringing like the hamstring before the top muscles, bringing the back of the leg.
The front of the leg goes back faster than the calf.
Faster than the calf.
Faster than the calf. You should feel it in here. You should, in your quadricep muscles, the tops of your legs should feel like they're working, like they're lifting. If you don't feel like they're lifting, then it's probably that you're just pushing back with your knees.
So basically we're lifting the kneecap, right?
Lifting the kneecaps and engaging these muscles. So a person that's hyperextended, is very difficult for them to feel these muscles. It's they think you're talking, it's a foreign language. Okay, so if it's a foreign language, it means most likely they're hyperextended. So you have to teach this. You have to teach them to resist here. And Raluca has a nice way of working on it, and you can show it with your block.
You can still lock your knees.
You don't say anything about the hamstring or sitting bones. You don't instruct about it.
Okay. If you've noticed, I don't teach so much the sitting bones lifting. Okay, and let's finish this first, and then I'll answer.
You can still lock your knees when you're eating, like you can overdo it and lock your knees when you're lifting.
Yeah, but then you're jamming your knees back. Okay, so if the legs tend to hyperextend, this is a great way to work on it. See, what we did is we make a stop to the calf muscle. We don't let the calf muscle go to the wall. We align the shin bone, we move, but we don't bend the knees because we really don't want to be learning this with bending the knees. So the shin bones have to come forward. See, her legs are not bent now. She didn't bend her knees to create this. She moved the shin bone forward because the block is helping her. Eventually she has to learn this without the block. And then what has to start, and now you see she's working her legs.
So basically what she's trying to do is push the front of her thigh back, but this one doesn't let her push the collar.
Yes, exactly. So the problem with a hyperextended leg is that it looks like they're open in their hamstrings, but they're really not. They're really not. Their hamstrings are actually stiff. And then if you keep going into that hyperextension, it just weakens the backs of the knees. It's really not a good idea. I really firmly believe in fixing a hyperextended leg, and it's not that difficult to do.
And it can increase also damage in the hamstrings.
If you keep doing it.
Yeah.
But what do you mean when you say fix? Because it's something you're born with.
Yeah.
It's it's actually one thing that's pretty easy to fix. Because if you realign the bones, and you saw how she realigned the bones, so do it for a minute without this. You see how see, it just goes back. So she realigned the bones. She just moved, and you actually will learn to do this without the block after a while. I know now not to go back there. It's automatic. She realigns the bones. She got the shin bone in line with the top of her thigh. And now she's working on lifting. Eventually, your body will know that this is a straight leg and that the other is not. This is actually totally fixable through a yoga practice, if you're conscious of it. If you don't know, then you won't fix it. But if you know, this is not a difficult, it takes work. It takes patience. It's aggravating. It's annoying. But after a while, that annoyance will go away. You'll learn how to do it. It's one of the things that can easily be worked out. Well, not easily, but can be worked out. Okay. Now, the reason why I don't like to teach the sit bones lifting and spreading. Let's see, who's really... If I corrected somebody on that today, if I fixed somebody's hips, you, who else? I fixed you?
Yeah.
Let's start with you, and then we'll see. Let me try and get the right person. Okay, so go ahead and do it for me.
wall or here?
No, here in the center room. Okay, and just go ahead and you don't have to hold your big toes. Okay, you're not perfect. You're a little bit, but let's see what you. I want a really good one. Okay, and then we're gonna move on because I don't want you guys pulling off on me too much. Okay, that's better. Okay, so it's not that lifting the sit bones is wrong. It's not. They are going to lift up. But if you look at her sacrum, and you have to look kind of close, and you look at that shape. This is what I call a hard sacrum. Her sacrum is starting to sink and disappear into her body. And it comes because she's thinking of spreading the sitting bones apart. Okay? And this is actually, she's just beginning to start the problem, but some people can really create a really big hole here. Okay, so come on up for a second.
There's also a hyperextension.
Okay, let's focus on that first. Okay, so if you work from the sitting bone and the back of the leg is not open, particularly guys, okay? So if the belly of the muscle is not open, and the student keeps going from the sit bone, what do you think can happen?
He would tear.
They can tear. One of the most common injuries in yoga practice, tearing at the attachment. It's a horrible injury. So I don't like to teach it from the sit bones because we get a lot of aggressive students and they attach onto an instruction. It's not wrong instruction. It is what's happening. But I find that if you teach to lift the entire back of the leg up, the entire front, to lift the four corners of the legs up, the sitting bones will rise up the right amount of time, but not overdo it. Now, and it's not that your sitting bones are not spreading apart. They are. But that can be overdone. Okay, so remember there has to be a dual action. So go ahead for a second. So what's the dual action to spreading your sit bones wide apart? Keeping the sides of the hips compressed. Okay, so just listen to my madness for a second. So we have these big groups of people we're teaching, and sometimes some of these instructions, they're complicated. Spreading the sitting bones apart and compacting the side hips. How many of you here knew that? You're teachers, right? Okay, so I take that instruction out and I go simple. I simplify it. If I tell them to lift the four corners of the legs up, naturally the sit bones will lift. There's no way the sit bones won't lift. But I don't get this potential problem of overdoing. So when we go into it, okay, so when you go, wait, pick this up. So when we go into the forward bend, it's not that you're doing this, okay? The frontal pelvic bones have to lift up and then fold forward. But don't tilt. Don't tilt so much. Yeah, just fold. Yeah, good. Lift this up. And there you go, and fold. Keep that lifted. Good. Yes, there's a tilt, but not an over tilt. Good. Put your hands on the floor. So the frontal pelvic bones remain lifted. And then these guys compress. And she is a little hyperextended, so move your the front of your shin bones forward, like Raluca showed. Move the fronts of the shin, a little better. Fronts of the shin bones forward. And then this compresses, and then of course this can widen. This compress, so she's not doing, go back to what you did, that. Okay? Yes. Yes.
Maty, what about students who have the exact opposite problem? They can't get their pelvis to rotate at all. Okay? They're going to be very stuck and they bend forward.
So what do you do? Come on, what do you do?
Breathe and bend.
Breathe. Now? Yeah. What can you do? Come on.
Bend your knees.
Well, if you bend the knees, what do you gain? What do you lose? What do you gain?
Flexibility in the hip joint.
Okay, what do you lose?
The levers.
You lose all the hamstrings, so you're never going to stretch their hamstrings.
We tell them just to do
Oh,
it like, just
Tell
90
them to
degrees.
lift up. So raise them up.
Yeah. So
Raise them up with a chair, with blocks, or if you need to, all the way to the wall.
Or even if they do like sun salutations, they can just, instead of going all the way down, they can just, stay here. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
They
I
don't
mean,
necessarily-
it depends. If the student is that inflexible, maybe sun salutations are not the thing to start with them with.
And I have found also one of the biggest things I've taken from you, from other classes, was this thinking of the lifting. And once a very not flexible student really can feel that, something in the hips suddenly starts opening as well from this space.
Okay.
I felt it on my body and I was using it a lot and I saw it happening.
Okay, can we, is this clear? Yeah, we understand this somewhat?